Hi, everybody. How is everybody doing this afternoon? I'm doing pretty good. Welcome to both Blessed to Crochet and the Lifeboat. This is a topic we're going to kind of talk about today in the sense of those old tapes. How many of us, if you're me, right, that had those old cassette tapes that we played to over and over again, wore them out so quickly at times, and all the little tape things, we got the tapes going and then they got out and we had to use the pencil and put them up. Now the kids don't have to worry about that. They just have to download things from Apple Store or iTunes. They don't have to do any of that kind of stuff like we used to do. But in order to play music, we had the tape decks in our car and we had everything going and ready to go. Well, you know what? In our head, we have what is called tapes. There can be old tapes and they can be repetitive and they can go in our head, and it's like that tape again. Hi Pamsky, how you doing? That tape again rattling in your head. Well, it's an important topic for me, and that's because thanks to the lifeboat crew. Hi Hilder DC. Um thanks to the lifeboat crew and all the connections I've made on my channel, those tapes are kind of starting to go away. I'm also going to say that because this is Mental Health Month in May, it is really important that if you feel like you need to go talk to somebody, please do that. Your mental health is very important. It's as much as important as your physical health. So you cannot take care of the physical without taking care of the mental. So if you are in a position where you feel like you need to go talk to somebody, please go do that. It's really important that you take care of yourself. And there's no shame in going to talk to somebody. I do it. And so between the connections I've made on the boat and the connections I've made on my channel and go really help me kind of break up some of these tapes. And the tapes, as we call them on the boat, they're ants. And they can sit there just going over and over and over again. Well, one of the tapes that I had thousands, mind you, it can be one thing that we have made a copy of it over and over again in our heads. And so one of the tapes I tended to have a copy of was Nobody Wants to Be My Friend and Let Mary Just Go Hide in a Corner and Pretend I Don't Exist. Well, you know what? That tape is not true. But my mind certainly made enough of them to make it feel like it was reality. Growing up, Jesse, growing up, I was heavily bullied in school. I wasn't in the in crowd. I wasn't in the cliques. I was the awkward girl. I was the one that didn't like all the hip music, and I wasn't into all the stuff everybody else was. And so, you know what? I didn't click with everybody. And so I was, especially during 6th to 8th grade and some in the very beginning, early of my years of schooling, I was really heavily bullied. So I wasn't being called for dates. I wasn't being called for the places to hang out and all that kind of stuff. I was really I went home and I turned on my music and I did my homework. And then what did I go to? I went to which was easy to get a hold of, and that was food. That was my drug. That was the way that I was able to make a friend. It wasn't really a friend, but it comforted me for a few minutes or for an hour. It made me feel good for the time, briefly until I felt guilty again. And then what do? You get up and you go back to the refrigerator, and it's this vicious cycle. Hi, Fairbrick Studio. So, you know what? It wasn't really till December till I really kind of started connecting and making those connections on the lifeboat, where I sat there going, "Oh, this makes sense. This is starting to make sense." And where I had friends who sat there and said, there was a recent time I was on the boat and I just said, "I just want to disappear in a corner and I just want to pretend I don't exist." And a lot of people within the chat said, "Sorry, you can't do that. We care about you too much and we love you too much. You can't do that. You're too much a part of the boat and too much a part of your channel." And so that old tape that I've made multiple copies of really isn't true. It's something that certainly at the time seemed like it was accurate and seemed like it was an accurate tape, but it wasn't true. And so we need to start breaking those tapes. And I think the way to break them truly, and a lot of what I talk about, Hi Art Junkie, on my channel is a lot of life experience. I wouldn't be sitting here talking about this or talking about raising a child with autism if I hadn't gone through those things. If I don't feel like I've gone through them, then I feel like I need to go and get somebody that has that I can have on here, because I think walking through life experience is really positive and can be very helpful for the other person maybe saying, well, I do that too. So, I've made thousands of copies of the fact that nobody wanted to be my friend and I should just exist in the corner because that's nobody wants to get to know me. And I know I can be a little talkative and I can be a little overwhelming and sometimes a little sensitive and all that kind of stuff, but I have the biggest heart that I've been told by a lot of my friends, and I'm very grateful for that. Well, you know what? Sometimes it takes, I think for sure, it takes therapy to help a counselor, and none of us are counselors, but that can help break those tapes. But I also do believe friends and you're part of having a circle of people that you can run to can help that tremendously to say, that's not true. And yeah, I want to be your friend. And oh, you're very much a part of my life. And I really think that that's really important. Now, I don't consider my immediate family, my husband and my mom and my daughter and my other family part of that circle because they're there. And if you have a supportive family, then that's really good. That's wonderful to have. If you don't, then start building those 5 as Tommy calls it. Build those 5 people that you can go to, and sometimes those people within your 5 cannot handle being in your 5. They need you to be in their 5, especially if they're going through a difficult situation. And if you don't have 5 people, but you just have a couple you can call, that's really good. I don't think it's so much the number as just having somebody that you can reach out to. And I have several friends that know, hey, time, night and day, you can call me if you need me. You may have to dial that phone a little bit more, but you can call me and wake me up and I'm going to be there for you. It's a real comforting thing. That helps when you start ruminating. Have you ever heard that word? Certainly in the farming community, we've heard the word ruminating. Well, that was a comment that my therapist used about ruminating. And it was really helpful to me because I'm like, wait a minute, I'm ruminating those thoughts. And it means repetitive thinking or dwelling in negative feelings and distressing over things, their cause and consequences. The repetitive aspect of rumination can actually cause depression and anxiety and can worsen existing conditions. So when we're sitting there ruminating about something over and over and over, hi Lydia, over and over again, does it help? No, it helps to talk about it, but it also helps sometimes to take some of those things that we're maybe ruminating and put them in a trunk. You are allowed as a person to say, you know what, whatever those emotions are that I'm dealing with, you know what, maybe I can't deal with them without unpacking them with a therapist, or I can't deal with them without unpacking with a friend, depending on their heaviness. Um, to some degree. I think that we can do it with friends too, but sometimes depending on, that's awesome, Lydia, depending on the severity, depending on the topic, sometimes I think a professional needs to step in and help you do it. But if you're in a point where you're like, you know what, I'm emotionally drained, then you know what? You have the permission to say, you know what? I'm going to take those emotions and I'm going to put them in the trunk and I'm going to lock the trunk. And I can't access them until I'm in a safe place, whether that's in front of a friend that you trust, or maybe that's in front of your therapist or your pastor, where you can then unlock the trunk and deal with it, because it is not helping me to sit here and ruminate it in my head over and over again, or something happened and it brought up some emotion. So you have the ability yourself to say, you know what, those emotions are going in the trunk. And guess what? I don't get to open them until I'm in front of a safe place, wherever that place may be. And it may not be actual place, it may be over the phone. So when you start getting those old tapes, you have permission to start breaking them yourself. But you also can take the people within your circle of friends and say, you know what, I'm really struggling with this. And there's nothing wrong with saying you're struggling with something. And say, you know what, I'm going to help. Can you help me break this? I've had to say that to a couple people. Can you help me break this? Because I have like 1,000 copies of the fact that nobody wants to be my friend. And you know what? I have a couple copies playing in my head, but not to the degree I had even in December. Because the minute they start coming up, I have to say, okay, I got an old tape, going in my head, and I can go to one of my people and they can say, which tape is it? Nope, sorry, it's not true. Um, but I separate those people from my immediate family because I have a really, really good support system. And if you don't have that in your family circle, find friends around you that you can circle yourself with. And there's nothing wrong with adopting family. There's several people through this channel and through the boat that I consider, goodness gracious, sisters and brothers, and there's nothing wrong. I don't have a sister and brother. I was an only child, so you know what? I'm thrilled and I'm blessed to have a lot of those connections that are starting to be made, and it's really, really important. So I just jotted down as I did a little bit of research today about those old tapes. And it's actually, if you go and Google it, there's a lot of helpful information. You need to build self awareness. You have to be aware that these are tapes and that they're lies. This is not something that is true. If you look at it enough to say, well, nobody wants to be my friend. Well, look at all the friends I am building now. That's not true. But your mind has a wonderful way of playing tricks with you and telling you things that are not true. And so you need to build self-awareness that, you know what, this is a tape I'm playing in my head constantly. This is something that's going over and over and over again. And how can we break it? So being self-aware that it is happening, and then also being self-aware that when it starts happening, what are you doing? Are you running to a drug? Are you running to an alcohol? Or like for myself, am I running to food? Yesterday was, no, not yesterday. The day before was kind of hard with something that happened. And I wanted to run to a gallon of mint chocolate chip ice cream because that's what I would be used to doing. It's something that comforted me for a second. I wouldn't sit there and eat the whole thing, but it would certainly be calling my name as long as it was in the freezer. I didn't do that. I knew that I was kind of been hit with in the gut by something, and I talked about it on my channel on Monday, and since then has kind of been resolved, and I kind of don't know how I'm going to go forward yet. My husband and I, and we'll figure it out, and we'll make the decision, and maybe it needs to go in the trunk for a couple weeks, and we go back and revisit and see how we feel. But instead, we stopped off and we got a healthy deli sandwich and got some sweet potato chips and some coleslaw. And instead of getting a gallon of mint chocolate chip ice cream to take home, I just got, they have like these little tiny chocolate things, and I just got one of those each. And that was it after lunch. And that was enough. And we sat there and I crocheted and I enjoyed a movie with my husband, and we caught up on some series of shows. But I was self-aware to know that, yes, what had just happened kind of, it was a kick in the stomach a little bit. And that's what I wanted to do. But instead, the lifeboat happened to be on. And where did I go? I went running into the lifeboat with my friends. And I started talking about it. And then I got off of there and I talked to another friend of mine, one that's in my 5. And I started talking to them. And I started talking to somebody else. And my husband's like, let's get distracted. I can't talk about this anymore. Now, my husband does go in the lifeboat, but he said to me, I don't always need it, but boy, did I need it today, because then Captain Tommy came on later and he was talking about how much he needed the lifeboat. My husband was just listening. He said, I need this connection today. So knowing when you need something is really important, but also knowing what you're used to doing when something kind of comes along. And it wouldn't have been those old tapes going in my head, well, nobody wants to be my friend, but it was kind of like, it was just something that happened. Sometimes when I have a struggle with a friendship, I see that coming on in my head, or something that happens. I can tell now when that tape starts playing in my head. And so, you just need to be really self-aware of not only when it starts happening, but what you tend to do when it happens. And then you have to say, no, yeah, it would have been easy to go in the grocery store, but no, And I actually didn't even go in the grocery store. I went to a small store that we go to that we really like to get sandwiches, and I chose to go in that store because they don't have ice cream. And I knew that if I had gone into Kroger's, I probably would have wound up in the ice cream aisle, and I wasn't going to do that because I knew that that was not the right decision to make. Name the negative thought, and that's where the trunk comes in. You can name the negative thought, but depending on how severe the negative thought is and those emotions that come with it, if they're too heavy, take that trunk, open it, unlock the key, throw it in there, and lock it back up. And don't open it until you're in a position where you're either with a friend, you're with a counselor, or you're with a pastor. If it takes a week before you can unlock that trunk, then that's what you need to do. But you need to identify and name the negative thought. Well, my negative thought usually comes in that degree, or sometimes what else will come up is 6th through 8th grade, especially. Thank you, Jesse. This one thing that did come through my head is I was often labeled the word cow, 6th to 8th grade. Well, I didn't realize how much. I mean, this was when I was teens. Hi, Kristen. It shouldn't affect me that much, right? I'm how old I am. I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, but I do have a birthday next month. We're gonna celebrate. But you sit there and go, well, I should be through with this. I shouldn't have to think about this again. This is ridiculous. But I realized through therapy, I did. It was something that I kind of carried with me. And it was kind of the way I looked at my body image to some degree. And I remember talking about it and crying. And my therapist said, you're not a cow. You're a grown woman. You're a beautiful woman. You're not this. You're not, you're not a piece of farm equipment, or that produces, you're not that. I don't mean a piece of farm equipment, but to some degree on a farm, you're not a cow. But it was something that just ruminated in my head. You're a beautiful, loving, woman. You're not this. But it was something that certainly played in my head. So sometimes when you go and you try something on and it doesn't look right, well, that little tape that I've made quite a few, of starts popping in my head. I have a box over here, and it actually has a beautiful picture of a cow on it. And I purposely got that because I'm actually doing a blanket for somebody we all know. And if anybody from the boat, my P.O. box is in the description below of all my videos. If anybody wants to send me a postcard for either Tommy or Spanx or Captain Calhoun, I would be more than glad to make sure that when I mail off this gift, that those postcards are in there. So if anybody's interested on the boat to send me a postcard, my P.O. box is below. And I will be more than glad to include those postcards in with this project. But I have a box over here. And I chose that box when I started this project with the cow on it because I thought, I'm going to embrace this cow. I am not this. This cow is beautiful, and so am I. But those tapes have had to be broken. I made a lot of those tapes going on in my head, but I've had to break them. And through friendships and through connection, they've started to be broken. State that to challenge the thought you recorded. Find things that can help you with that. Like, for instance, the perfect example. I'm not a cow. Do I look like one? No, I'm not. I'm a human being. So what is the challenge that needs to happen with that thought? What is the words that go with it? That's not true. That's the way that, I can't continue that one. It's not true. So you got to challenge it. And that's where connection and friendship comes into play. You've got to be able to challenge that negative thought. And I think that we need to realize that there's people on and off social media that we are going to connect with on such a tremendous level, and it's just going to be easy. I think we have that in the workplace. I think we have that in church. I think that's pretty much everywhere we go, where there's people that we just connect with, and like we have felt like we've known them all our life, and having them as friends are almost effortless. And I'm grateful for each one of them, and they know exactly who they are. And I think sometimes we want to get in that in crowd. And sometimes those friendships and relationships, not that we're not friendly and nice, but they're just they're a little bit more of a navigation. And I think it also helps us to kind of understand each other a little bit and kind of work through some stuff ourselves and to navigate that. And that's all personal. That's all, people skilling. And, I remember when I kind of started this process, uh, it was like several people said, I don't know how to be a friend. Well, guess what? I don't either know how to do it to some degree. I'm learning this. So let's learn this together. So sometimes we need to look for the friends that we just connect with really easy and really enjoy that. We learn all these other different dynamics and relationships, and that's a whole different topic and a whole different discussion in itself. But it's very true. We need to challenge those thoughts. But sometimes we need to challenge those thoughts with friends, and we need to have those friends that are going to be able to sit there. Excuse me, I had a long day yesterday. Hi, Rolling Stone. I'm listening and confirm that you're lovely and you're not a cow. Kids can be cruel. They can be absolutely cruel. It was awful. But it was the way it was. But we need to challenge those. And friends also, that there's people within your core people that your family, if they're a real safe place, can kind of tell you stuff about yourself and things you probably don't want to hear. But we also need to have those friends too that may sit there and lovingly tell us things that we need to hear if we don't have a safe place to fall with our family. But even though, I think we still need to have friends that need to say, just tell me how it is. Can you just tell me? I need to know. And we put those times in and we build those friendships, then we can be able to feel free to be able to do that. But I think we need to do it in a loving way. And I also believe that we need to take time to really get to know the person. We can't just jump in and start, criticizing a new friend until we really kind of get to know them. And it's not criticism in a negative way. It needs to be criticism in a loving way. We need to find out how to say, we can say exactly the same thing that can build somebody up as well as tear them down. So, we can do it all in a way that's loving and caring and will build them up. But we can still tell them if we know that they're doing something that is destructive or not good for them. And sometimes just a little bit of a loving butt kick. I had that on the lifeboat recently, and I knew it was out of absolute love. And I took it, and it actually got me out of the house. It got me on my phone. It got me connecting with people. That was the day of the eclipse. I was forever grateful for that. And what is affecting of this thinking? We have to record that. It may help to stay in our comfort zone, but it is also frightening sometimes to change what is comfortable. So what is the effect of that thinking? Is it a thinking that is good for us? Is it helping us build us up? Having me have that tape in my head that says I'm a cow is not helpful at all. It's not at all helpful, 100%. It's not helpful. But we need to be able to realize that if it's comfortable to us, if we've heard it enough, and you're right, loving bluntness is helpful. If we hear it enough in our head to sit there and go, okay, well, this is comfortable. This is what is comfortable. And to some degree, when you start thinking that, and then what's the easiest thing to do? Well, I can just go get a cookie. I don't keep a lot of sweet stuff in my house because I know I'm tempted to. But I can just go grab something that makes me feel good for a moment. Well, that's not helpful. I need to take that little thing, and I've actually embraced a beautiful cow. I think cows are beautiful now. And I don't look at myself in that way. I also don't look at myself in that way. Hi, Living Large. I don't look at myself in that way to be able to say, oh, I'm that. Oh, I nobody wants to be my friend. Well, that's just lies. Every once in a while they'll creep back in, but they're not thousands upon thousands of copies of tapes. The thing that we have to realize is we're going to create more new ones. We're going to create new tapes. we're going to create things and experiences that are going to happen. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create those tapes again. But before they get out of hand, before we've got 1,000 or 2,000 copies of it to break, when we start realizing, guess what? We're starting to build that tape library of that thought. We need to get in to either to speak with somebody, get a friend involved, stop it. Sometimes when we're trying to look at the perspective, like I've said to on my channel, when I take my glasses off, you all are absolutely fuzzy. All I can see is fuzziness. Well, it really doesn't help me to see the situation very clearly. When I put my glasses on, which can be the friend on the other side or a family member, but sometimes, hi Josh, that's my husband. Sometimes when our family has the glasses off because the situation is so intense, it's really hard to see it in a clear perspective. And sometimes we need to reach out to a friend and say, I need you to look at this perspective and be able to, I've got a hair in my eye, hair in my glasses. Be able to look at from a perspective and say, okay, how do you see this? Because sometimes they'll see it very differently. And that's the perspective we need. We need the perspective on with the glasses on, instead of taking the glasses off and seeing it from the perspective we're seeing it through when we're going through an emotional state. And sometimes we need to give ourselves permission to open that trunk and say, that's going in the trunk because I can't deal with it today. That's okay. If you're emotionally drained, that's okay to be able to sit there and say, guess what? We don't have to today. We can throw it in the trunk. Create your own affirmations to rewrite the negatives. And that's where friends can get involved. Now, I know this is going to sound a little silly because we all are past the school age years, but how many of us had mothers and we had a spelling test? We would go to bed and come in the next morning and they were on note cards all down the mirror for the entire week. Me. I can raise my hand to that one. I can say when I came in to my bathroom when the new school week was coming up and I had a new spelling list to come on, my words were on the window for me to sit there and look at as I was getting ready for school. And I would wait a minute, what's going on? So that's a real good thing to do. If you have a negative thought, let's put my negative thought in out there. Nobody wants to be my friend. Then you put negative thought, nobody wants to be my friend. And you put underneath it lie, because that is a lie. And then you put the new one. Yes, there's people that want to be my friend. Whatever it may be. New, old, and new. And you repeat that. That's a lie. This is what's true. Because the truth is, and what my therapist has actually taught me is what is called a thought record. Being able to go through and say, this isn't true. Well, what's the truth out of it? What's the facts that back it up? If there's a detective investigating a case, there are times where they rush through it and they get the wrong person. But usually, if they're going to go for a case to investigate, they want to find the facts. They want to find the truth. They don't see that somebody, maybe was wearing a orange shirt or a blue shirt or a red shirt, and they catch the first person walking down the street that had a red shirt on. That'd be an awful way to do an investigation. So when you're putting your thoughts out there, you've got to be able to say, wait a minute. I've got these thoughts running. Are they true? Are they false? What is the tape that wants to be played in my head? And so it's a really good idea to maybe, if you have to, be able to put those thoughts up and be able to put them up in the mirror and say, no, this is a lie. This is not true. And then you have a friend to bounce them off of and say, okay, I got one of them tapes running through my head. Getting out of the environment you're in when those tapes are running, like I chose on Monday. Not that there was necessarily a tape running through my head. There wasn't. I think I was more shocked than anything else with what happened. It was a gut punch. But, I chose that I knew my tape would go through my head. I can say this, that the tape would go through my head and go, ice cream, mint chocolate chip. That sounds good. Yep, that'll give you comfort, Mary. Well, that's a lie. It won't. It's not going to comfort me. It's not going to give me anything but extra calories I do not need. And it's going to make me feel good for a second or a minute or an hour. And then it's going to be calling my name for the remainder of the time that's stuck in the freezer. This is not going to help me. So that tape that says, oh, yes, that would be good. Yes, it's going to make you feel better. No, it's not. So I chose to not go in to the grocery store where it was easy access to me. I went to go to a smaller store that really didn't carry. They did carry, but they didn't carry in one that I would have liked, and go and do something else. Now, I still picked up just a little piece of chocolate. They have like these little individual wrap candies. That I did. But I did not pick up the ice cream because I knew that that was not the way to handle the problem. The problem was to reach out to the connection points I have made. That's why the lifeboat, that's why my channel is focused on connection. It is why you see crochet around me, but you don't see me teaching you how to crochet. I will send you to places that will show you how to crochet, but I don't want to teach it. I want to be able to surround myself with many connection points, some closer than others, friends, and I want to be able to bring friends together that can help each other connect and build those friendships and be able to rely on each other and support each other. There was we did a Saturday night hangout, and my daughter and Cosmic just connected. Well, there's two people that struggle with autism, and if they can connect together, they can be there to support each other. That's the whole goal, is supporting. And I think we run to different friends for different things sometimes. There's people we kind of really run to everything with, and there's other people that when we're dealing with this problem, they really help with that problem a little bit more. There's nothing wrong with that. But we need to build those connection points. They are so important to build them. They are so important to help break those tapes that we have running in our heads. And when we start running them, we better reach out to somebody and say help. There is nothing, that's a 4-letter word. There is nothing wrong with saying help. We don't do it, I think, enough when we're really, really struggling with something. When we're really having difficulty, I don't think, hi burrito, I don't believe that we ask for help enough. We almost find it to some degree like, I can't believe I'm asking for help. I'm not strong enough. You know what? You don't have to be strong. Nobody suffers in silence. Nobody should suffer in silence. If you need to have somebody help you break these tapes, break them. But you also have to do your part too. And whether you have to put a big sign up in your window, like when you were a kid, that says whatever tape you need help breaking, then that's what you do. And you stare at that thing every day for a whole month or 2 months. And you say it every day. Hi, Misha. You say it every day to yourself. Smile at yourself. My husband does that in the mirror. He says every day. He said, I don't smile at anybody else, but I give myself a big smile every day. And he said, it actually does help my mood. He said, it helps my mood to smile. So if you need to sit there and read, I'm a beautiful person, or I'm a beautiful, woman, or I do have friends and people want to be my friend, whatever it is that you need. If you have to stare at that thing, and then you have to put another one by your coffee on the cabinet for your coffee, and then if that's what you need to do, you do it. Absolutely. Misha says, I'm stronger than most people for what I am told. I need more help than most. That's just there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. There's nothing wrong with it. I have a real hard time, I know for myself, from a physical standpoint, of asking for help. My husband will sit there going, "Why are you doing this? I can do it." And he'll realize, like yesterday, we were in the store and I was walking um, around the store, and I was having difficulty. My sciatic nerve was hurting just a little bit, and there was no other carts available. So he had the electric cart, and he said, "Sit down." I was like, "No, I'm fine." He goes, "Sit down." "No, I'm okay." He finally just got up and said, "I'm going to walk for a little bit, and you need to sit down." And I sat down, discouraging enough, but sit down. And I'm doing this for a point. My sign was crooked, but sometimes we need our friends to help us make it a little straighter, right? I thought I'm going to use that as an example. Well, it's a little crooked. And he made me sit down. I didn't want to sit down. I fought it, but it was just enough of about 5 minutes of sitting down that helped my back to relax, and I could start walking properly again. But how much of us, hi Rick, how much of us are sitting there walking and we're just like, not one more step. I can't do one more step. I'm going to fall. I need somebody's help. I need a seat. I just need to sit for a few minutes. And sometimes we need somebody to come along and say, "I'm here to help." It's a really, really comforting thing. Asking for help is not a bad thing at all. And yet it does have a bad rap to it. I think to some degree, there are, especially people raised in the Depression, you don't ask for help. I mean, my grandmother, good night, she wouldn't have asked for help. She fought it till the day she left this world. She didn't want to ask for help. Ask for help? No, I'm fine. I'm independent. I can do this. I'm fine. Okay. All right. It was like this force to try to get her to ask for help. And so we need to ask for help. And there's nothing wrong with saying to people, start identifying the tapes that need to be broken. Now, here's a really important thing. If you there may be sitting there going, "Well, I have 100 of this copy, and I've got 200 of this and 1,000 of this," and it's going to become all too much if you start trying to break them. You know, if you try to break them one at a time or all at once, you can't do it all at once. Nobody can. We all have done the exercise thing, right? And we're going to get ourselves healthy, right? We all do that and say, "Okay, I'm going to get myself healthy. Well, I'm going to start drinking 64 ounces of water today, and I'm going to start walking 3 days a week, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this." Well, by the time the end of the week goes, you haven't done any of them. You started off great. You did wonderful. But then before you knew it, you hadn't done everything and you're just giving up. We've all been like that, haven't we? We've all been to the point where we're going, "Okay, um, we're gonna do this whole thing," and then before we know it, where did the week go? Well, you may need to identify one tape that you can say, "I'm gonna work to break the copies I have of this tape." And you may never get to the point where you break all of them, but I can tell you that tape that goes on my head that nobody wants to be my friend and I might as well just go crochet in a corner doesn't come up in the manner in which it did come up even 6 months ago. It comes up every once in a while, and the minute it comes up, I go running to my connection points that can sit there helping me to decide to unbreak it. And it's give me a minute. I have a chair. There we go. Every once in a while, you'll see me slink down, and it's like, I don't want to look like I'm stuck in a hole. The laughing part of today. A little break in seriousness, right? It goes down, down, all on its own. But anyway, the point of it is that don't try to break these tapes all at once. I'm going to go ahead and sit here. Okay, well, we got this. We've got 10 tapes. We got to start breaking all of them at once. You're not going to do it. It's just like if you're going to start eating healthier and you're going to start drinking your water, then start with the water. I have a big thing of 64 ounces worth of water. I have just decided this week, for the next couple of weeks, this is all I'm going to focus on. I'm going to get through this a day. I'm not going to focus on doing anything else but getting the water I need down in me every day. And then once I've kind of got that, then I'm going to start working on, when I can, because of the fibromyalgia, I may start to try on the evenings. It's already getting hot outside, y'all. In the evenings, just maybe start off with a 10-minute walk. If you know that you're not going to make it to the half an hour walk, don't do the half an hour walk, do 10. Well, and then I'm going to start doing this. Just start putting in things slowly. And that's kind of the way we should be breaking those tapes. Maybe start identifying those tapes. If you're journaling, start putting in some good things about you. It may be a real struggle to figure out what's good about little old me. Well, you don't have to crochet, but let's just say you could be as simple as, you know what, I make really good egg salad. I know that sounds so little, but it can just start with, I make really good egg salad. You know what? When a friend needs me, I'm right there. I make a good cup of coffee. Just start with the most silliest things that can come to your mind. And before you know it, you may have a list this long of all the wonderful things you can do and the wonderful things of who you are. And I know it's like, well, I make a good egg salad. But what about inside? But it may take you to say, I make good egg salad. I make a good cup of coffee. I do diamond art beautifully. I do a good crossword puzzle. Oh, you know what? I'm beautiful. Or I have a good heart. Or what, it may take you a while to get down to the stuff that's here. And start asking your friends. The friends that you know are sitting there having your back. What's good about you? What are the things that I admire about you? It was really neat yesterday. Those know my other's keeper. And she messaged me about 7:30 last night. She said, "Could you do me a favor?" I said, "Yeah." Now, mind you, I did a busy day. I was really tired by the time the 7:30 rolled around. I just sat down. I was having a cup of tea, and I was just like, I don't know if I can stay awake. I was really tired. And because of yesterday, it was wonderful. My daughter took me out for a lovely early Mother's Day. It was wonderful. And then we went to Sam's Club and did our big shopping. I'm going to spend the rest of the day just relaxing and watching movies. And I have a crochet blanket for a baby that's due on the May 18th that I got to get my hands busy with. So I'm just going to relax. I've already taken a nap this afternoon. I'm just going to chill the rest of the afternoon. But she called me up at 7:30. She said, my other guest fell through. Can you come on? Yeah, I'll come on. I don't know what we're going to talk about. And she said, well, I want you to interview me. So it's going to be Kim on Kim. So I came up with some questions. One of the questions I asked her is, I asked her is what she admired about her daughters. But then I returned it to say, this is what I admire about you. So why don't we start doing that with our friends? Why don't we start sitting there going, you know what? This is what I admire about you. This is what I like about you. Because it's all about taking off the glasses or getting those glasses back on, because they're seeing it all fuzzy. We're seeing it crystal clear. And it doesn't mean that we're giving comments without it being some kind of truth behind it. It needs to be sincere and it needs to be genuine. People can tell that. So you need to sit there and say them, I really like this about you. Just lift them up. We're all about lifting each other up, not tearing them down. And sometimes that's what a person needs is, you know what, we're just going to start that. And that can sometimes really help in breaking some of those tapes. We can break these tapes, y'all, together. You can do it by yourself, but it's a heck of a lot harder. And it's not as much fun. It's a lot better to break them together. It is so much better. So we can break them together. We can break them through you connecting with places like my channel and like the Lifeboat and like Kristen and like My Other's Keeper and Surviving Together and all these ripples that are coming out. And then at 3:40 Central Time, 1:40 boat time, and 4:40 Eastern time, Nina Meaning will be on. So that's another connection point. And then tonight on the boat, I believe Captain Calhoun and Tara Smiling are going to be doing an interview together. So there, and Captain Admiral Tommy was on earlier today. There's so many of this connection point. Oh, it's so much more fun with company. Now listen, for example, the girl that's on the screen. The first time that we did a simul stream together, we got on the simul stream together in the back offices, the backstage part where you guys don't see. And we spent it probably about 45 minutes talking before we got on. We spent an hour and 45 minutes talking together. And we spent another hour trying to say goodbye. And it was so much fun. And one of the things I said to her was, I said, how long has it been, Kristen, since you've been sitting with a good friend and doing something like this? She goes, I can't remember. I said, neither can I. See, when I started this channel, my goal was connection. My mom, it's really my mom's channel, but she's not into the camera stuff. So that's why I just put her picture on the front of every video now so that she's on there. But she just said, Mary, you're so much better than this. You've got your dad talkativeness and his never meaning a stranger. So you just do it. And I'm going to be in the back scenes. And I'm more than happy with that. But I started the channel for connection. I also started it because I was absolutely true, it was balm for my soul. I started this channel because I said to my mom, I want to start it, and I want us to start it because I don't want anybody to be by themselves, in the sense of I knew what it was like to be a mother raising a child with autism. And I remember how lonely it was and how much this kind of connection would have been tremendously helpful to me during a very difficult time in my life. When I did the show about my dad, it would have been a tremendous help to have that when I was going through all the struggles I was with my dad and going through all of them. Hi, Anthony J. Going through all of them when I was dealing with my dad's dementia. And I didn't have that. And so I thought, you know what? I don't want anybody to be on that couch by themselves. I want them to feel like, you know what? If they need somebody to call and just say, hey, can you just be on that phone for an hour? And can I just call out your name throughout the hour every once in a while, just so I know I'm not by myself? I will gladly do that. I don't want anybody to be by themselves, especially a mom who's raising a child on the special needs scale. I've been there. I've done it. See, we all can learn from each other. None of us in any of these ripples, some of us have more experience. They're either they're doing counseling or they've got degrees I don't have, and I rely on their knowledge and their expertise. But I do a lot of life experience stuff. And I'm starting to actually do some research with this. This stuff was stuff I did in research. I was like, yep. I agree with every solitary one. Every solitary one. Kristen, throw your channel up. Every solitary one. It is very true. But these tapes, I didn't realize how many copies I had of the one people. Thank you, Rick, for stopping by. I didn't realize how many tapes I had of this one thing. And you know what? We all can break them. They're breakable. We have to stop leaning on stuff that is comforting when we're in a situation, because it's easy for that tape to override everything. See, Monday when things were going crazy, the tape that would have overrid me would have been, oh, go get some ice cream. It'll make you feel better. Go get some Swiss cake rolls. It'll make you feel better. It wouldn't have. And it just happened to be that the boat was on. But you know what? If the boat hadn't been on, I'd have gone to another person and said, help me, because it's where I'm really wanting to go. I stayed connected. Hi, Sandy. I stayed connected throughout the day, but I also did not go to where those old tapes would have driven me to. They wouldn't have helped. They would not have helped. They would have tasted good, but it wouldn't have helped. See, those old tapes, whether it's alcohol or drugs and or food, some when you're dealing with alcohol and drugs, if depending on whether you're using those substances, you need to, if you're thinking of getting off of any of them, you need to go underneath a doctor's care. Please don't try to quit alcohol cold turkey. Please don't try to quit some of the drugs cold turkey. It can literally be life-threatening. So please don't do that. If you are on any of those things and you want to get off, reach out to the lifeboat. Reach out here. I can forward them email to the lifeboat. Get a hold of your doctor. Do not try to quit those things by yourself or, without any assistance or help. Please do not. But as long as you are using those are the tapes that are playing through your head. Because they're a lot easier, and it would have been a lot easier to go in the store and get the ice cream than it would have been to deal with the problem. I haven't totally dealt with the problem yet. I've put it in the trunk for the past couple of days. I just really don't have the energy to deal with it. And I really don't know how to face it yet. And that's a good thing sometimes when we are unclear of the situation. When the situation is not presenting itself in a clear manner to us, sometimes we need to pop it in the trunk and pull it out and say, okay, is it clear? Is it clear yet? And if it still isn't clear, or we don't know how we feel about the situation, we need to put it back in the trunk. We need to put it back in the trunk until we can open it up again. And sometimes, and I'm talking about a situation, and then, quitting cold turkey could do that. But if depending on whether you're on a certain kind of drug, you're using a certain kind of drug or alcohol, there are some of those things that can be life-threatening, and really could be seriously quitting cold turkey. So please do not do anything if you're on that substance in any way, shape, or form without consulting a doctor. Please. And that's what the lifeboat is here for. They are here for that. They're here to help. We're here to help. We're here to make connections. But, I'm not a counselor, but I'm here somebody that can say that since really getting into the connection points and defining those connection points and defining the people that I've started connecting with, those tapes have been broken. They're not ruminating in my head. That does not mean that throughout my life and my hopefully tremendous life ahead of me, that I'm not going to have more tapes that are going to be created. But I'm not going to allow them to make 1,000 copies of one. It's easier if you do something with crochet. If you notice a mistake 10 rows down, than 50 rows down. There's a lot less work you have to go back and do. But it's a mistake. We can unravel it and we can go back. Yes, absolutely. Opiates and alcohol are the worst. Please make sure you discuss quitting options with a medical professional. Absolutely. 100%. 110%. Absolutely. So, this is what the ripples are here for. Connection points. That's what the lifeboat is here for. Connection points. That's what you come into these kind of chats. That's why majority of my stuff that's put on my channel is live content, because I want people to be able to connect in the chat. I have a Facebook group for my page called the Lighthouse Beacons. The lighthouse can always be turned on. Now, I don't have to be on, right? I can just do like I did before, put up a cute picture of our dog Mocha, or just even put that up, turn off my mic, and let you all chit chat. I don't need to be on here. But if you come on my Facebook group, the Lighthouse Beacons, say, Mary, would you turn on the lighthouse? If I can, I certainly will. I will be glad to do that. That is the purpose of what these channels are being created. We're on the cutting edge of some of this stuff. And people, what I'm seeing as I am getting more involved with other channels, is people are starting to do more and more connection. There's more and more YouTube channels that are doing live content. And I'm meeting different people from all over the place. I'm meeting, like Anthony is a fishing channel, fishing and homesteading and all these different people that I'm meeting. I don't garden. I couldn't garden for anything in the world, but I can crochet, but I can't garden, do not have a green thumb. But I'm getting hooked in with all these homesteading groups and gardening groups. I can sit there and watch and enjoy it. And people that are struggling with maybe raising a special needs child or caregiving, or like for me, I'm done after this today. There's not much left in this girl's energy tank today. I'm done. And my husband's just like, I'm like, there's nothing else. I have to do something about 7:00 tonight real quick, but that's not going to take a lot of energy. But overall, I'm done. And I know what I need to do is rest. So going out really any place really is not on my on the cards today. Resting, crocheting, taking care of myself mentally, doing my own mental health today is really good. And we need to acknowledge that. So let's be a part of helping to break those tapes. And I kind of thought it was kind of fitting when I listened to Admiral Tommy today, kind of talking about those negative thoughts that come in, those ants that come in, 8 minutes and everything. He says, and it is true, change your environment for 8 minutes. Get out of the room, get outside, get a new smell, do something besides sitting in it. I knew if I had gone in that grocery store Monday exactly where my tail end would have traveled to the ice cream section. I'd have pulled out that ice cream and taken it home. I wasn't going to step in that store on Monday. Wasn't going to do it. It would have been the easier thing to do, but not the right thing to do. And sometimes we have to get outside that comfort zone, y'all. We have to be able to say, okay, it's uncomfortable, because those negative thoughts and those tapes sometimes can be a comfort. They can sometimes be a comfort because then it takes us to go to things that are comfortable to use so that we don't have to deal with the pain. Dealing with pain is whether it's physical or mental, is no fun. It can be exhausting and tiring, but it's better to deal with it than to sit there and try to cover it up and put the Band-Aid on, because eventually it's going to expose itself. Eventually it's going to come out one way or another. And for like my fibromyalgia, I have to maintain my pain level. I have to take my medicine that helps me maintain at somewhat of a bearable pain level. But if I don't take my medicine, man, I'm going to be hurting. So I manage it. Let's help each other. I've stayed out of this house all day doing just that. Y'all at the coffee shop with me. I got all the ants and the bad tapes. I stayed home alone. Absolutely. Absolutely. You did what was good for your mental well-being. Now, my mental well-being this afternoon after this is done is going to be, I need to go crochet. I need to work on this blanket that's due in X amount of days. And I need to watch a movie, and I don't have to be available to just head out real quick until about 7:00 tonight. And if I fall asleep and take another nap, then that's what my body needs. So let's identify what we need to help each other mentally, And let's also help each other break those tapes. And that's why I said, let's break those tapes together. We all are here. Let's reach out for help. Let's state them openly. Maybe it's sometimes embarrassing to sit there and say, yeah. Do you think it was easy for me to come and say, yeah, was my name in next school, in middle school? That was a name that would run in my head. Yeah, not so easy to tell you, but I hope it helped. I know that people want to be my friend. I know that's a tape that doesn't need to exist anymore. And every once in a while, it'll still pop up. I can guarantee you it does not play in my head like it did 6 months ago. It just doesn't. And I can thank my friends here on the boat that have helped to do that. They've helped to break that tape. So you may have to start putting in your journal. And if you can't journal via, paper and pen, I know I'm going to show you all. You can see. This is my writing, if you can see it. Not the greatest, right? It's my little notes for today. I can read it. It's a bunch of chicken scratch. I don't journal because of this. My handwriting is terrible because it's painful to write. I can crochet for hours. I just can't write for very long. So if you can't, get an email address. It can be your own email. Nobody has to know the password, only you, if you feel comfortable enough. Go ahead and set up an email address that you can send yourself emails and start writing a journal that way. And it can be just simply, I went to the coffee shop today. If that's all you can start off with. And we all have these smart little phones over here that you can start taking and speaking into it. And I don't care if it's a bunch of jibble, jabble, whatever. You know how speech to text can get. It can be all over the map. You're the only one that may or may not see it. You may never even have to look at it. But if that's how you have to journal, either by setting up an email and voice to text, then write. That's what's kind of stopped me from journaling. Because the thought of writing hurts. So what else do I need to do beside it? I can type. And if I can't type, I can speech to text. And if it comes up all jarbly and it says, I went to the, and then it goes into something else, bada bada ba, and then it goes in back, who cares? Hi, Mary. It doesn't matter. You're just doing it. You're getting out from here, out. And then maybe start putting in what those tapes are. Just maybe list one. Maybe the next day, list another. And then the next really important step is to ask for help. Ask a friend. Maybe you give a couple of those tapes to a couple of your friends. And don't be afraid to ask to go and seek therapy. There is no shame in it whatsoever to talk about it. These were things that you went through. They were things that you went through. They were traumas that happened, but it does not define you. I had it last night. I heard it. I'm going to put this in my drawer so I have it. It does not define you. I want you all to remember this because we're all disco balls. Remember? A disco ball is hundreds of pieces of broken glass, but together to make a magical ball of light. You aren't broken. You're a disco ball. So we're all broken. Hi, St. Louis. We're all broken. I'm going to put this in my drawer because I'm going to start reading that a lot. We're all broken. Good night. We're all unique. We're all different. Let's embrace that. But let's embrace it together. If you haven't subscribed to the Lifeboat, please go subscribe to the Lifeboat. Kristen, thank you for dropping my friends in the chat, their channels. Please subscribe here. I would really appreciate it. If anybody wants to watch one of my playlists, That would be tremendous help. I am doing a birthday giveaway running May 18th through June 18th, and there will be some yarn and maybe some coffee and some other goodies in there just to say thank you for all the support that y'all have given me. I can't thank everybody enough. Connection truly has been, to me, life-changing. Those tapes, now, I will create more of something else that's going to pop along the way. But I guarantee you, I'm going to realize before I get to row 50 that I'm creating about 10 of them. And I'm going to pop into friends that I have and say, help. That word help, there's no shame in that. There's power in that. There's power in the word help. There's power to say, you know what? I can't do this by myself. I can't do this thing we call life by myself. I can't get through this by myself. I mean, some of the things we've gone through in our lives, good night. If we'd asked for help, they wouldn't be so bad. Hi, Bountiful. They wouldn't be so bad. We can do it with a friend by our side. So connect with somebody. Find those connection points. If you're somebody that's caregiving or can't go out too much, then utilize YouTube. It's there. It's a resource for you. There are more and more channels doing this live content, y'all. They're happening all over the place. Kristen, if you can put Need the Meaning, because it will be on at 3:40 Central Time, 1:40 boat time, and 4:40 Eastern Time. So that's another really great resource, and it will be streamed on the Lifeboat as well. So there's all these. We're going to start asking for help. We're going to start asking our friends and identifying the tapes. And when it's too emotional, put it in the trunk. Let's not be afraid to ask for help. And let's find someone we can start connecting with. Just one. I'll never forget saying, I really don't know how to do this whole friend thing. Somebody else saying to me, yeah, I don't know how to do it either. Friends were something that were always, they weren't there for me. They weren't something that I had very many of. And I said, well, we'll do this together, aren't we? We'll learn together. And I think sometimes you have to start out that way. Maybe it's your comfort zone to not have friends. And sometimes you have to step your feet out in the comfort zone and say, yeah, making friends is hard because the past has hurt me when it comes to friends. Sometimes we have to step out of that comfort zone. Well, thank you. Thank goodness for you too. So I didn't realize I have a sounding board set on my remote. When to turn it off in the AC to hear the hubby and No More Mary. Finally figured it out. Oh, that one gave me a laugh. But let's do it together. Let's do it not by ourselves. Let's do it through talking. That's why I do the little hangouts on Saturday, because I think it's a great connection point for everybody. So I thank the Lifeboat for doing this on their channel as well. It is certainly an honor, and I'm blessed to be one of the ripples of the Lifeboat. I wouldn't be here without the Lifeboat. I wouldn't ever thought that I'd be on the YouTubes in any way, shape, or form, but I'm really, really glad I did. And I'm so blessed for all the friends and all the connection points I've made. They've helped with those tapes. I think we need to realize, too, that those tapes are going to be something we're going to hear and make throughout our life. But if we realize that we do it and realize what we need to run to, and that's connection, we need to run to that. And if it's, God that you believe in too, you need to run to that. And you need to have your family. If you've got a good support system around you, it's your family, run to them. That's what they're there for. Nobody in this life should be trying to do this by themselves. Here, you don't suffer in silence. And the lighthouse is always on here. So, with that, I'm going to say good afternoon, everybody. I hope that you all have a wonderful day. I'm going to go work on this blanket that really needs to Blessed to crochet. Having you as my new friend has been a great thing to me. Aw, me too. Me too. I'm going to go work on that blanket. So I have a baby gift to give. I'm going to be in trouble. Anyway, I thank you all for joining me today. You all have a great afternoon. Stay connected. It truly can be life-changing. Bye, my crew, and bye, the lifeboat crew. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.